here we are, we three queens. I'm Achieng.
I'm Musonda.
And I'm Micheline.
And we're celebrating life, love, friendship, and birthdays.
Oh my goodness.
Yes!
Happy birthday! Queen.
Thank you.
This is so wonderful to be able to sip and drink yummy champers and know that we have so much to be grateful for.
Absolutely.
Amen.
And we've made a deliberate choice when we choose to drink champagne to celebrate, which is the conversation we want to have today, girls.
Yeah.
We want to talk about money, but we want to talk about money in the context of relationships.
Correct.
Because you hear so many different stories and there are so many different perspectives and reasons. So for example, are you the woman who sits there and waits for the blesser to come and pay all your bills? Or are you the woman who is paying all the bills for that toy boy of yours? What do they call them? Ben 10.
Ben 10s in Kenya.
Or are you? I mean, there are so many perspectives. Girls, what do you think? Let's let it rip. Let's tell it like it is today.
No. You know, first I want to start with our relationship.
Okay, go for it.
Because our relationship is a beautiful relationship. It's not a perfect relationship, but we were very purposeful when we started. Oh my God, it's like 5 years ago.
Is it that long?
We're on 4 and something.
Yes. We were
my
purposeful about this sisterhood, this friendship, where we said over dinner we're gonna do this and we're gonna do We Three Queens, but there's money that came with it. And each of us are independently financially secure, and we said we're gonna invest. And I love the fact that, you know, we agreed as a trio, we're gonna put in money, we're gonna do this thing, we're gonna film, we're gonna pay, and it kicked off. And people were like, I think a lot of people thought we were sponsored.
That's so true. And the thing is, it costs, you know. We have the amazing Michelle, you know, who's our videographer. She's also, you know, helps us with creative and digital strategy now.
Correct.
She has a small business. We'll put the logo at the end of this, and you know that does a lot of, you know, content and video and photography. Partners also to do events, and so we also believe in helping SMEs, helping startups.
Correct.
But we had to have some money so that we can pay some young professionals.
Yeah.
And no, nobody was sponsoring us. And I know some of your stuff is super fabulous. Which brand is that? And it's just things that we've picked up along the way.
But my friend in Amsterdam
Yes.
actually sent me a message saying, okay, so you guys have a studio and you've got a whole production team. And I'm like, we're in our friend's house filming with our beloved Michelle helping us, you know.
This is it.
But it's great quality stuff, and we actually made the investment and we're deliberate, as you said.
But also what I want to say is it could have gone pear-shaped. It could have gone south.
Yeah.
But for me, what is also very important is the element of communication in money. Let's have an honest conversation that we can talk about money, and you're going to put in 1, 2, 3, you're going to do this. That for me is important because this is where a lot of women have gone. So depending on what you've heard, either from a man or from your friend, you're like, oh, I think that person loves me, so I'm going to invest the money in this monetarily because I need to support them with their project to a real detrimental level. You take your salary, be it a church, everything that you have no nest. You have no fallback plan. That when a disaster hits, do you see what I mean?
Yes. Absolutely. I know of a case, and this is a lady. We're fortunately or unfortunately not in touch anymore. Doing very well, making some very, very good money. And a couple of times when the person had an emergency, they would reach out to me, and I knew they were good for it.
So they were close.
We knew each other through other connections, but we knew each other, and the person would always come through. The issue I had was one morning when the person called me. Actually, we had 2 incidences with this person. One where they called me hysterically because there was an emergency, and they were screaming in the phone. And it was. I mean, first of all, I don't know how my heart didn't stop, because when somebody calls you like that,
and frantic,
you're imagining that they're being murdered.
Correct.
Okay, they had a crisis, And by this time now, it had become so systematic, and I'm very sensitive about this thing of money because I never want the relationship I have with anyone, family or friends, to be about money. It doesn't mean I won't help, but I don't want it to become a situation where I feel like I'm an ATM. And it's not because I always have money, but it just starts to make it feel awkward.
You feel like maybe you're being used.
Absolutely.
And so the other previous times, I helped out. When this crisis came, and it was a large amount of money, I made the decision not to give the whole amount and to just give a little.
I have a theory on that.
Exactly. So I gave a little. The thing that for me was really the straw that broke the camel's back was sometime later, the person had borrowed money from a loan shark and called me at night, screaming hysterically, saying, they're going to kill me, they're going to kill me, they're killing me, they're breaking down the door.
Because that's what some of them do.
Exactly. And she was so hysterical. Those things really unsettle me, my centeredness, just emotionally. Those first of all, you know that when you go to a loan shark, you better jipanga or make a plan. A loan shark are people who lend money when you have an emergency. They will not ask for collateral. They will not ask for something to guarantee, like a title or a logbook or something to hold on to while they lend you the money. The interest rates are very high, but also they can be pretty ruthless if you don't pay up when you say you will.
Of course.
And the interest goes up. If I've never borrowed money from a loan shark because I'm just
neither have I.
Here's the thing, because you really, if you walked into a bank because you needed a small amount, let's say a small amount is $200. And you walked into a bank, there's really no way they're going to lend it. It's too small for like that big bank architecture to basically process for you. So what do we have here? Like microcredit, which is also kind of a bit of a corporate, if you will, institution. A loan shark is probably just somebody sitting on his or her mattress. And they'll be like, sure, lend it to you immediately. And now in Kenya, as well as most of Africa, we have really fast mobile money systems. I can get you that $200 in like 2 minutes.
Correct.
What's your number?
By the click of the phone.
But you know what? There's no free lunch, as they say. When things are too good to be true, my friends, they are too good to be true.
Absolutely.
That means there's probably something horrendous about to happen. So the loan shark applies these interest rates. And here, there's so many different systems, but there's one that's applied daily. In your head, you're like, I just need 200 in a month. I'll make money. I'll pay you back.
Right.
They might have told you it's 10%
interest.
A week, for example. So every week, 200. You do the math with me. 220. By the next week, 220 plus 22. Etc., etc.
And it just goes up, and you suddenly
and they will come with their big muscles. Somehow I don't even know really any of them, but I feel like they just have like big muscles, maybe a gun and two men behind them
that look like
just
bouncers, big
scary guys. That's how I think I've seen in movies. I'm not sure. Anyway,
but you see, for me, that particular so back to the story of the loan shark. They were banging down this person's door. And the person was screaming hysterically, telling me, they're going to kill me, they're going to kill me. It was so traumatizing. It's like I was there with her. The thing is that the amount was so much.
Right.
So in
that you had lent her, or that she wanted to
that
give.
now she owes a loan shark because of course the interest had accumulated.
But this goes back to what you said some time back, where you talked about living within your means.
Yes.
And I want to come back to these relationships because of our, the sisterhood and even the kind of relationships that we have. There's for me, there's a rule of thumb that I apply to money and friendships.
Yeah.
There are people that I know for sure, even if I lend them $20, they'll not return it.
But you've learned the hard way.
I've learned the hard way. But also I've also learned that I'm going to give you the money. I won't expect it back. Am I comfortable enough losing that money?
Absolutely.
That's the theory I was saying I have.
Yes.
You lend what you're comfortable
losing.
Voila. It can be the best friend, it can be the person who's paid you before, the borrower they've paid, but there's just something about it because you see, you're putting yourself out. So that's the theory that I've maintained. A few exceptions I apply, just, my sisters, my own family, but even then I just feel like if I'm giving you my whole salary, it's never happened, but if a family member, these exceptions needed like all my money kind of thing, I don't know what I'll do, but I'm just saying, I can understand if you have a few exceptions.
No.
But that should be your hard and fast rule.
Yeah.
But I want to see what happened with this woman who was in hysterics. And then I'd love also to just tell us so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's try and like solidify this in some real sort of nuggets here.
Yeah.
But I'd love to hear the end of that.
So obviously I couldn't help. The amount was really significant. It was needed there and then or else.
Yeah.
The person had some property that eventually I think they gave up or sold to be able to pay back the loan shark.
Right.
Okay.
Which means maybe they should have just done that and then sold it for the right price.
Correct.
In hindsight, that's probably the first port of call.
Right.
And it links back also to, do you have all these assets, but you're busy borrowing money and not getting a good not getting a good interest rate for the money? Because then it doesn't make sense. Why would you have 2 cars, for example, and then you're borrowing money when you could just sell 1 car and do what you needed to do and not have a debt?
It's this cash poor, isn't it? I always wonder about that, because there are some people who have, like you're saying, the car, which for me is really not an asset.
Yeah.
It's a depreciating asset for all intents and purposes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It goes down in value.
Yeah.
But anyway, but maybe land or like 2 apartments. And then, you're sitting there and they're like, but you have the $200 in your ATM. And you're sitting thinking, well, you're 10 times richer than I am. You go sell 1 car, you'll have $200 in a heartbeat.
Exactly.
So that's interesting. Like, the cash poor.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that she, so you just
Well,
were like, sorry.
at some point, a friend of mine gave me a book that talks about, don't take on people's monkeys on your shoulder.
Yeah.
That's right.
In the end, it's not my
Put a monkey
monkey.
on my back.
Yeah.
I always say that. I
Yeah.
always say that, but I use it differently for work.
Yeah.
When someone comes to you with a problem, like, okay, stay with your monkey, don't put it on my back.
Yeah.
It's so good when I
You
find
It
know-
really wasn't my monkey.
You
in the
know,
end.
talking of decisions around appreciating assets, etc. I've been very purposeful because I've moved back to Europe. More recently, after 20-something years of not living there, I've made a deliberate decision. Of course, it confused my children. I don't have a car because the Swiss public transport works.
Amazing.
Yes.
Do I need a car? No. I'm 10 minutes away from the train station. It takes me whichever direction of Europe I want to go.
Yeah.
Or I can take a flight. My children walk to the bus stop and go to school. Of course, they moaned and groaned, "Mommy, we want to go back to Nairobi." And I said no. And that for me has also kind of made me save quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm thinking, and then I don't want to be in that. And of course, I take my children to an international school. At the same time, we're arriving there. There's a Porsche Cayenne, there's Lamborghini, there's those things that children are beginning to see in these spaces.
Yeah.
And I educate my children to say those are things.
Yeah.
That does not define who you are.
Exactly.
So my children, who for all intents and purposes are saying, "Oh, my mother is the boss of of this institution, but we don't have a car."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that,
How do you
them.
it's absolutely good for them. And for me, I've decided, you know what, and I have to ground my children in a space where I say, don't look at the Lamborghini. Don't look at, we live in one of the world's richest countries, right?
Yeah.
And for me, don't look at the Lamborghini. Don't look, because it's back again to what I said, comparison is the killer of joy.
Yeah.
Because they're comparing themselves to their friends.
Yes.
They really are. And that makes me think about sort of that car, example makes me think about something a guy said to me, sort of a potential boyfie, I guess. And I'm saying I guess because it sort of went pear-shaped. But he did say, he dropped me home and it was, a rather nice date, if I remember correctly. And I don't have a car in Nairobi. My life is quite limited in terms of just where I go. I'll rent a car if I'm going far.
Yeah.
I use Uber, our Ubers, Bolts, God knows what, they all work very well.
They're great.
And so he said, drop me home and, I like a nice home. I think, I make a nice home. And he's like, at least you don't have a car.
Meaning what?
Meaning, and it was such a weird, but at least, so that maybe I could now be hanging on to him because maybe he's going to buy me one or something.
You've
and there's just something about the way he said it. At least it was also like a relief. Like you have these things, but at least there's something, either at least there's something you don't have that I have.
Yeah.
Or there's something you don't have that I can give you.
It becomes transactional.
And obviously I was just like, huh? Oh, okay, good night. It was time to go anyway. So it was awkward. Anyway. Linking it to now what you were saying and what I'm seeing. I think you threw it out that, what did you say in the beginning? Is it the champagne talking? She said something about women. Wait. It was something to do
the blesser.
The blesser.
The people that you're supporting
Yes.
and all of that. And you touch on
there.
something.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm sure that you both have had some situations where the relationships become transactional.